Okay, guys, so you haven't done a real estate deal yet and you're thinking about getting into it. Well, I just completed my first real estate deal and I wanted to share some information with you guys. I wanted to tell you what niche I went into, how much I had to invest, how long it took, what I needed to know, what I learned, what I should have known going into it, and how much did I make, the most important thing, right? Before I show you the check amount, the dollars amount, and the time frame, I want to explain something about the process because I think it's important for you to understand how I landed on the niche that I did. So it's been a year actually since I first thought about doing this. Last December, in my reflection time of the year, what did I want to get into for the new year? I decided that I wanted to take some of my crypto earnings and hopefully I had enough to move into some real estate investing. Real estate investing has a lot of tax advantages. The wealthy always seem to be doing it. And I thought it was a great long-term play, especially to build my net worth, more than just a quick dollar or steady stream of income. Thinking a lot more about retirement in my age, but I should have did this as a young man. In fact, I'm really heavy on my 18-year-old son right now and trying to get him invested into this at a very young age. So that being said, what I first did last December was I actually bought these two books, the ABCs of Buying Rental Property and Rental Property Investing. This one's by Brandon Turner and this is Ken McElroy. Brandon Turner is probably the most popular guy in the space right now with BiggerPockets and the BiggerPocket podcast. I spent a lot of time on their website, reading the forums and all the articles and watching people's videos on YouTube. I read both these books, which were really great. And the reason I started with these is because I was going to do flipping and I don't know anything about construction. I'm not very good with a hammer or a saw. Make my living more, not with my hands, but with my head and my mouth in sales and marketing. And so I didn't feel confident in doing that. And it's a heavy investment, right? Because you got to have more money really for the fix, not only the down payment, but the fix to do the repairs and to upgrade the house. And I thought that was going to be a real challenge. Rental property I thought might be a little easier because I could move into it with just a deposit, a down payment, and then start collecting rent. One of the things that scared me, or I guess I should say two of the things that scared me about the rental property is with COVID, there was this, the government put into place where they couldn't collect rent for a while. Landlords, if you didn't have the money to pay, they couldn't collect. But as a landlord, you were still responsible to pay the banks for the loan that you had on the rental home, rental house, rental apartment, condominium, apartment complex, whatever it is. You were still responsible for that payment, which I didn't think was very fair. The tenants didn't have to pay, but the owners of rental properties didn't get a forbearance in paying the rental property payments, mortgage to the bank. That's what I was looking for, rental property mortgage to the bank. So, that was kind of scary. Also walking into a rental property, not knowing a lot about construction. What if I bought something that had a bad roof, had a bad foundation? Those type of things were scaring me as well. How do I make the right decision? One of the solutions would be to partner up, right? I also thought about the solution of buying just cheap condos because the HOA, even though it's an additional fee I didn't want, they were responsible for the roof. They were responsible for the groundskeeping, a lot of the other things. So that was something I considered as well. The next thought in my thinking about all this was since I don't understand that, and I know it's a weakness in my game, why don't I, and this is a couple months into this, of learning and studying on my own, why don't I get into home inspection? I could get my home inspection license, go through the schooling, do the training, have a mentor. You have to have so many hours with somebody. And then I would know when I walk into a future flip. And this ain't a bad idea for some people out there. And even for me, again, maybe in the future. But when I walk into a rental or a flip, I know what I'm looking at. I know what's bad. I know what's good. And at the same time, I could go out on weekends and evenings and do some of these home inspections and make some money, make my schooling money back, make a little bit of profit. that's not a bad thing either. So I really thought that's the route I was going to go. And then I landed on the niche that I ended up starting with, which was flipping land. One of the key things they say in flipping land, and this is what caught me and solved all my problems: no tenants, no toilets, no termites. So three of your biggest fears are that my biggest fear is not knowing construction and not having tons of liquidity to fix a major problem, an emergency. That made sense to me. It's a better place to start, would be land flipping. And as I keep learning about the business, maybe I could flip some land and put some money in my pocket to help me buy future properties and network with other builders and investors and different things like that. So that is what I did. My first few properties, out of my first three properties, one is a house, a condominium, and two are land. And I'm going to be talking to you about one of the land deals today, because even though I've bought three properties, I haven't flipped or sold any of the three until this week. I finally got to close on my first deal, and it was a land deal. And so now let's go through kind of the timeline and the cost to get into this and what all I had to do, and then the profit that I made off of this deal. Now that you understand why and how I landed in the land niche, and I'm going to continue working the land niche and making profit. I think this will be very profitable for me in 2022. But I'm going to use a lot of those funds to start accumulating Airbnbs and property rentals, long-term rentals as well. Still not ready for the flips, but I am going to step up my game in all those departments in 2022. So let's look at the numbers. Okay, so as we get started, I just wanted to mention I will put Amazon affiliate links below for these two books, which I highly recommend if you want to go get them and be a blessing to the channel as well. So I just wanted to throw up real quick. I'm not about showing bank accounts and, oh, look at me, the money. But I also know how people are on YouTube and social media, and let's see the check, partner. And I don't think there's anything to worry about as far as me blacking out names and numbers and signatures, that type of stuff in today's day and age, the way checks are and how fast they are. But there's always somebody that would try, and I just didn't want to answer any questions or have any issues, even though this check is already cleared. So I just went ahead and blocked some of it out. But there you go. There's the check. There's the proof in the pudding. And let's talk a little bit about that deal in greater detail now. So I want to encourage you to, there's a lot of gurus out there and fake or just not so good courses. Believe me, I've done a ton of them. $10,000 courses that were a waste. But I do still recommend you've got to study. That's the number one skill in making money in this new era, is you got to be constantly learning. Things change fast, and you need to be learning and compounding. And my grandfather owned a television repair shop, and as I grew up, and he never was out of school because the technology was always changing. He always had to keep up to date. And it's really like that for just about any business nowadays. Some of the things, the fundamentals will be the same, but you got to keep learning. So I'm not against the courses. You got to find a good community, good courses, and good information, and keep learning. And I was able to do that with a group called Land Academy. I vetted a few different groups. I ended up loving Land Academy. It was a very good decision that I made. The Discord group, the course, everything that's in there, it's just been a real blessing. And give yourself time. So many people, go back and watch the video about the number one skill making money. So many people don't even finish the courses, don't give them time to learn anything. If you don't make money in 2 weeks or 30 days, you're out. You got to be ready to invest at least a year into something before you even know. And that's a hard pill for so many of you to swallow. And I'm here to tell you, it's still going to take hard work, and there's going to be a learning curve. But the great news is, with that new information and experience, you can keep compounding and growing and getting better and making more and more money. Don't get into it if you're not willing to at least give it 6 months or a year, is my honest opinion. And I spent months reading these books and reading the blogs and watching all the seminars and the YouTube videos and the free stuff. And then even when I got into land, remember I started in December. I got into the land group like May, okay? So May, June, July, I'm watching all their YouTube videos, all the training videos, interacting with the community. And this went on until I did my first mailer in August. So I spent several months lurking and learning. Learn to lurk, interact, and learn. And that's exactly what I did. And so finally, just to kind of give you a breakdown of the deal here, I spent some time trying to determine where I wanted to buy property at. And once I decided on an area I was going to try, I went to a real estate, to Data Tree, which is a real estate data information site. And you have to pay to get information from them and records from them. And so what these numbers, some of these numbers you're going to see are split in two. And the reason I did that is because from this first attempt, I actually bought 2 pieces of property. I only sold 1 to date. That is the deal we're talking about today. But as far as acquiring the properties, I'm going to split the cost and what it costs to acquire them, such as the mailer and the information that I'm talking about here, because it's half and half. I got 2 properties out of it, and the second one hasn't sold yet. So it cost me about $50-some to download about 1,500 records of property owners that I was going to mail letters to, seeing if they were interested in selling me their property at a discount. And to get that information from Data Tree, for half of it, I spent $26.79. Then I spaced out some mailers. I didn't want a bunch of phone calls at once. So out of these 1,400, let's see, I did 4. So yeah, I did about 300 and some mailers a week. So I sent some out on the 6th, and then the next week on the 13th, and the next week on the 22nd, then the next week on the 27th. In total, half of the mailer cost, because I got 2 deals, half of it costed me $554.93. So I spent over $1,000 on the mailer. You will have to have that money up front, but $554.93 is what I spent. Heck of a lot cheaper than $20,000 on a down payment on a $100,000 condo, right? So those sent out in September. I did end up talking to somebody that wanted to sell me this property. And so I got a hold of a title company in the area. And they spent most of September getting everything ready for a close, doing all the title research, insurance, all that. They took care of everything. So I'm not working during all. I'm not really, I had to go and do some work to figure out who I was going to mail and build this list a little bit. But then I had a company that just sent these for me. They already had the letter and everything formatted. I learned about them through Land Academy. In fact, I think Land Academy owns the company. Then, instead of learning how to close, it was such a big deal that I just reached out to a title company and said, can you handle this for me? Not a big learning curve here. This has all been pretty easy and not working very hard at all. Just waiting. So most of September was just waiting. We finally got everything ready to go here at the beginning of October. So again, the wire transfer fee was $30 because I bought 2 properties at the same time. So I'm going to split that for this one property we're talking about that I ended up selling. $15 there. I paid $5,000 for this lot. It was about a quarter of an acre, but in a pretty prime area. Then I ended up paying $1,274.25 in closing costs to that title company. When I sold it, we used another title company, the buyer did. So I had to pay a little bit of money to them plus commission to real estate agent. So again, I didn't work. I hired a real estate agent on commission only to sell this property. So when it sold, I had to pay them $1,975 plus the closing cost. So total out of pocket, I was $8,845.97 into my real estate career and owning this first property. Sold for, I showed you the check, $19,090 is what it was. But when you take out the closing costs and the commissions, it left me with that check I showed you of $17,025.90. which I got on the 29th of this month. So the total profit on this is $8,179.93. I've got a ton of business write-offs and other things this year, so the majority of this will be net. And that all took just under 5 months, 145 days. So pretty easy money. If you want to do the math and think of it this way, we got 145 days divided by 7 days in a week. So we got about 20 weeks here. So $8,179.93 divided by 20 weeks. It's about a 400-hour week, and there's 4.33 weeks in a month. So it's about a $1,700 a month part-time job on this one deal, because it took me just about 5 months to get it done. Not a bad side hustle considering I did so little work on this. The second property is probably going to be about a $20,000 net off this same amount of work. So this number is definitely going to increase. Now here's the great thing. I'm now going to have more capital, more experience, more understanding, and this is what I was looking for, proof of concept. I now know that this land flipping stuff works, and I know how to work it, and I'm part of a good community that's supporting me in it. So to be able to take this to a 6 figures in 2022, doing multiple properties, maybe 2 of these deals a month, I think is going to be very easy, very feasible, and I look forward to doing it. So I hope that encouraged you. I hope that helps you understand a little bit if you've been thinking about getting into real estate like me, but maybe you have a little bit less funds and this is your first deal, and maybe you don't know your way around construction like myself. This might be a great place for you to start. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments, and I'll definitely make sure that I try to answer them. I appreciate you guys tuning in.